So let's start with the cushion between our knees and bring your big toe joints together. Take your heels out a little bit, so you're rotating the thighs inwards. Notice my t-shirt is quite annoyingly twisted. Great. And then slightly bend the knees so that you can apply that pressure with the knees together, squeezing the cushion. And then just take the arms to the side and let's just completely rotate. Palms up, palms down, all the way to the top. Keeping the knees slightly bent, but your spine nice and upright. Oh, on your back, Joe, on your back. Okay, and then all the way back down again. Good boy. Great. Palms up, palms down. Fantastic. Let's now make a more smooth action. Sweeping the arms up to the top, backs of the hands together. Turn the palms up as you come down. So keeping your arms at the side seam of your body. Maybe take some breathing. Breath out as you take the arms up. Breath in as you draw the arms down. So the opposite. As you're drawing the arms down, breathing in, grow taller. Breath out, breath in. And then let's start to just take a very shallow figure of 8 at the side. So I call these are like eagle wings. Still squeezing those legs together, squeezing the knees together, squeezing the big toes together. Great, and just mobilising the whole shoulder girdle. Brilliant. Let's bring the heels together as well. So knees are still squeezing together, insteps are squeezing together. I'm going to turn sideways. So let's take the arms, let's sweep the arms forwards, and we're going to bend the knees as we push the upper back back. Again, take the backs of the hands together there, and then turn the palms up, open up the chest, look up to the ceiling, and sweep and bend. Nice breath out, and open up, breath in, breath out. And now, because I'm trying to get that continual flowing movement, I'm slightly crossing my wrists over at the front. So breath out, breath in, palms are up, breath out. There must be something about my voice. Jack has curled up and appears to be sleeping now. Breath out, breath in. Let's add to this, breath out. So we've already got our knee bend here. Now straightening the legs and coming up onto a rise. Still trying to lift the chest, maybe just glancing up until you find your balance. Go through the nice straight leg position both times. So before you bend your knees and before you rise up, opening that chest. Breath out, maybe adding the breathing as well. It might be all be a little bit too much going on. Last one. Breath out and breath in. Fabulous. Okay, opening up the feet to more shoulder width apart, reaching the cushion up. And we're just going to reach up about 4 times, lifting one side of the cushion up, and then hold the cushion all the way up as if you're trying to put it on the ceiling. From there, as we did last week, you're going to release your puppet strings. They've been cut. You're going to bend your knees, look up at that cushion, brush past your face, stay looking up, bring the cushion down in front of your body, stick your bottom out, bend your knees, unravel all the way down to the floor, and then just one time straighten the legs and bend the knees, and then roll up through the spine. Take the cushion back up to the top again. Let's do 3 more of those. So 4 reaches up. Try and start with a different side each time, and then all the way up. And then allow the cushion to just relax. Bend your knees, relax and roll down the head. So head drops down last, straighten those legs, soften the knees, roll up through the spine, and here we go again, 2 more. Reaching up. So we're warming up, we're just sort of exploring really what's going on in our bodies today. How does it feel? Hopefully by the 3rd and 4th time of these roll downs, straightening your legs and then rolling up again. Everything is starting to feel a little bit more mobile, hopefully. Make sure you're not holding your breath at any stage. Reaching up, looking up, let that cushion drop, let your arms hang, arch the back, but just in a really nice relaxed way. Roll down, straighten the legs, soft knees, and roll up back through the spine. Brilliant. We are going to take some side bends. So let's take the feet even wider, so outside of your shoulders, and maybe just turn the toes out a little bit. And let's have the cushion on top of your head. So you could do all of these exercises without the cushion. You don't really need the cushion. But for now, if you've got a cushion, pull your hands, it's like you're trying to split the cushion in half and you're pulling the opposite sides. So elbows are really out to the sides. And then as you go over to take your side bend, think of the top elbow lifting up towards the ceiling. So you're almost trying to lengthen this longer curve rather than shorten on the other side. So lifting and lengthening, keeping the cushion on top of your head. And if you haven't, you could just take your fingertips to your temples here. But I'm going to assume you've got a cushion. Everyone's got a cushion. One of my ladies the other day said she doesn't do cushions, but she did have one in the house. So we're reaching up. Great. Now let's stretch the arms up, and now let's go over to the side and then take a small knee bend, brush the cushion past your knees and roll up the other side. And go back the way you came. Bend the knees, let the head hang. So the important parts here are this first side bend. Really relax in the middle, don't hold your head up, let it all relax. And then looking underneath that top arm to get the second side bend. Once you've warmed up a little bit, once that feels good, start to take it, if you want to, start to sweep the cushion along the floor. Making sure when you bend your knees are going over your toes. So you're up and over, relax down, tucking under. Good, I'm going to do one more each way. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Over to the side, relax and roll down, and we are there. Perfect. Wide legs, figure of 8. So keeping the legs as wide as they were, let's take a figure of 8, one of many in this class. And the figure of 8, you're drawing it at the side of your body. So you're drawing a circle one side, and then your other circle is on the other side. And this is the regular direction, if you like, also known as kayaking or canoeing. It's the way we quite naturally draw our figure of 8. But then let's reverse it. So taking the arms up, looking behind you, and then underarm bowl. Up and over and come underarm. So you're just drawing your figure of 8 in a different direction. Later, when we start to add this in to our static lunge, you're going to want to probably keep your head facing forwards and keep those hips quite still. You will have to keep your hips quite still, but for the moment, just get that all going for the moment. Brilliant. Another sort of conundrum, but nice big body movement. Let's bring the feet, let's keep the feet pretty much where they were, but feet nice and parallel. Gently just soften your knees. Now draw your great big circle with that cushion. So this is our bread making machine. We're setting one of our, one part of the circle thing off in this direction, and then let's change direction and see if you can notice, as I started to do this earlier in class, I can feel my upper body already starting to go in the opposite direction, partly because that's the movement I know that I'm going to try and achieve in a moment, but it's already happening in quite a subtle way, and that's why you want a fairly heavy sort of cushion. So now let's look at taking the cushion side, centre, side, centre, side, centre, side. My hips are staying still, my ribs are shifting, and I'm extending my arms out to go to the opposite side of the cushion. And then let's take the cushion, and you'll be totally familiar with this movement. Take the cushion forwards, take your rib cage at the back, and then bring the cushion in towards you and take your chest to the cushion. So you're pushing back and there. And my legs are staying bent all the way through. There's a slight pelvic tilt as I push back because I'm exaggerating it. Good, and now all we need to do is add up those four movements. So let's start forwards with the cushion, back with the ribs. Take the cushion to one side. Bring the cushion in front, so you're making contact with your chest. Take the cushion to the other side and then push it away. So you could almost feel like you're drawing like a semicircle. Now go around, rib cage, cushion, opposite direction, and then we're going to change. So let's break it down on the change. Someone said to me the other day that when I say change the direction, it's like she has to relearn the exercise completely. And that is actually what happens, because your brain has got used to going in a certain way, and naturally you'll originally go the first way that you move will be your easiest way. So when you're trying to change that up and go in completely opposite direction, you have to think about it. You have to press the pause button and reset. So cushion forwards, ribs back, go in the other direction. Cushion to one side, ribs to the other side. Make contact in the centre, over to the other side and sweep it forwards. Now get the movement going, the bread making machine. So hopefully this might be starting to sink in a little bit now. We did it last week, maybe you've practiced it as well, probably not. But and then let's just try one more with this. Get your hips going, hold the cushion still, circle those hips around, all great mobilising for the hips. And now when the hips are back, the cushion is forward. When the cushion is to one side, the hips are to that side, they brush past each other, other side and circle. So this is good, but nowhere near as effective at getting everything moving and mobilised as the other one. Now I'd like you to change direction. So reset here, hips to the other way, hips going in the other direction. And I've managed that today, but earlier on that wasn't happening. Changing that direction. Fantastic, give the legs a bit of a shake. Brilliant. Okay, we are going to face the side of the room. And you're going to hold the cushion out in front of you. You're just going to swing it back and leave your other arm in front of you. Swing the cushion forwards again and change it to the other hand. Swing it back, swing it forwards and change. Swing it back, swing it forwards and change. Try not to have don't have your arms so high at the back that your shoulder tips forward. So stay nice and upright. You can open up that shoulder a little bit if that helps. So quite a relaxed movement. So think about, rather than parallel to the floor, think slightly lower with the hands. Changing over. Great, we're going to add on to this by adding the legs in. We're going to take the legs back into alternating backward lunges. So I'm going to stand at the front of my mat to start with. I'm going to have the cushion on top of my head so that I can keep my back really nice and upright. If you need to, use a wall, use the back of a chair, back of the settee, something for support, but lose the cushion. If you're going to need support, don't worry about what's going on with the cushion. But if you can, keep the cushion on top of your head, elbows are out to the side again, stepping back. This is the most advanced version, 2 90-degree angles at your legs with the knee just brushing, and then step forwards and change legs. Stepping back, brush that knee to the floor, so you're not actually kneeling down. Now if this isn't something that you can do comfortably, that's fine. Still take a nice wide step back, but just take a little bend. All I ask, whoopsie, is that you keep your spine upright, otherwise you'll tip over like I just did, and you bend both knees equally. You don't have to take that great big 90-degree bend. From the front, keep going if you can. The legs they're not too narrow. If you go on a tightrope, it's really difficult to balance. So as you step back, take that leg slightly out to the side, so they're at least hip width apart, and then bringing them in. That front knee is above your ankle. Really important. Good, okay, you probably know what's coming up. We are going to take that cushion in front. As you take your backward lunge, alternating backward lunge, you're going to swing the cushion back with the opposite leg. So, not the same leg that's going back, the opposite leg. So, I'm going to start by taking my right leg back. I'm going to swing the cushion back in my left hand so that we're in opposition. My right arm stays in front. So that's basically in opposition to the front leg, and that should feel quite coordinated. Bring the cushion forwards, swap hands, swap legs, there and up, and there and up. So you're going to get your heart rate up, not a bad thing. You're going to be increasing your stamina, your proprioception, your coordination. But if things hurt, then please stop. Make sure you're swinging that cushion back, which will also help you to stay nice and upright. It doesn't have to come up very high. And again, this could just be like a little mini version of what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the full version. All the way back. Couple more if you can. Whoops, stepped off my mat that time. Woo. Shoulders and hips nice and square to your front. Okay, we're going to stay in our static lunge. And again, if you need support, use the support, forget about the cushion. Just make it up as you go along a little bit. So stepping back, don't need to be quite so low this time. So I'm going to sort of stay halfway down, holding the cushion with both hands, and you've guessed it, here we go for our figure of 8. Now this is much harder because we're asking the legs and the hips to stay really still, keeping us on balance. Keep your head looking forwards. When you're ready, if you want to add an extra challenge, follow the cushion with your head. It will make it much harder. Try and really stay in the middle, keep those hips facing forwards. Then, when you're ready, change the direction of your figure of 8. Again, keep the head facing forwards for more stability. Follow the cushion slightly if you want more of a challenge. Couple more if you can. I know it's hurting in those legs, but stick with it. We're going to finish up by having that cushion above your head. You're going to keep your front leg bent. You're going to straighten out your back leg and tip forwards. And tip forwards and tip forwards. And try and bring your body and your back leg parallel to the floor in a nice capital T. Holding it there. Think about hips and shoulders being parallel to the floor. I'm going to flex that back foot. Make sure that leg is nice and straight. And then I'm just going to put the rest of the cushion on my bottom. Behind my hips, I'm taking it behind my back, still holding on to the corners. And then I'm going to lift that knee and come upright and hold it there as a balance. Woo. Woo. Good job. We need to do the static lunge on the other side. I'm going to swap round to this side. Don't know why, just for a bit of a change. So here, I have my right leg back. This time I'm going to take my left leg back. So, good, strong position, nice and wide, front to back as well. Don't make it too narrow. If it's too narrow, there's that tendency to tip forwards. Bend both knees equally, and here we go. Figure of 8. So start by looking forwards. Keep those hips absolutely square. Good. Adding the head, following the cushion if you can. It's going to make it much more difficult to balance. Keeping that front knee aligned. Woo. Keeping the back knee aligned actually. Keeping that back heel up, nice and parallel. Great, let's change direction. Look forwards to start with. Think about what you're doing with your arms first. Really try and get those shoulders to twist around. So you're coming towards your midline. And then when you start to add the head, you might find that you can go even further because you're opening up those shoulders. I can feel myself straightening that back leg a little bit. In fact, I think my legs are getting wider apart. Not ideal. Good, let's hold that cushion up and then pitch forward. Straighten the back leg, flex that foot. You might only be here on this wonderful diagonal line. If you can, go a little bit more forwards. Whoops, no balance. This is when it's handy to have the wall behind you, holding that there. The cushion is above your head. Your arms are by your ears. Hips and shoulders are really square. Take the cushion round, put it on your behind. Still holding the cushion at the edges, elbows out to the side, shoulders pinned back, and then I'm going to try and straighten that, straighten that standing leg, lifting up, I wasn't meant to put my foot down then. Tried to do it, but didn't quite work. And there you go, good work. Okay, a little bit more strong work on the legs, but trust me, legs as strong as it feels at the time, and it gets your heart rate up really nicely and burns some calories as well. Always a good idea in these times. Your legs won't hurt tomorrow, pretty sure they won't, but they just hurt at the time. Okay, so turning the legs out in the hip socket, toes are going to the corners, we're taking a ballet plie. So we're looking, if you were looking in the mirror, if you were in front of me in class, I'd be looking for perfect symmetry. So spine straight down the middle, equal amount of bend in both knees. Knees going over the toes. Great. Let's take the cushion forwards as we bend the knees and then bring it in as we straighten the legs. And let's add some breathing. Breath out, breath in. So ideally we're ending up with the shins at right angles-ish. You don't really need to go any lower than the thighs parallel to the floor, even if you can. Hold it back a little bit. But what's most important is that the knees go over the toes at the side. Great, let's stay down. Let's keep the cushion going. Draw it in towards your chest. As you push it forwards, raise one heel, push that down. And the other heel. So we're breath out, breath in, breath out, in. And in. Keeping the chest really upright. Good job. One more each side. Staying down if you can. Can we have both heels together? Oh, yes, we can. Knees over the toes. Thighs are starting to burn. Stick with it if you can. One more movement, one more exercise. Stay down and drive your calf. First of all, but I really over-exaggerated. I'm actually crossing my elbows over. Going one way and then the other. And then here's another figure of 8 to try and take your mind off that burning sensation in your thighs. Good, let's change direction because it would be rude not to. Try and get that twist. Keep those shoulders upright. Woo! Standing and give those legs a bit of a shake. Come back to feet nice and wide. Back to our ballet plie and take a good stretch here. So coming down to those knees over the toes. Take your elbows just below your elbows towards your wrists. Put them on top of your thighs, wherever you can make contact, and then push your knees back with those forearms, with your lower arms. It's a strong stretch, a really strong stretch. And then just take a little bit of shimmy from side to side, just a bit of extra movement. This is a very strong stretch. Jack, on your bed. Go on, settle down. He's going to get them. Good boy. He's a good boy, yeah. Great, and then from there, let's take those hands down to the floor so they're underneath your shoulders. Bring your feet to parallel, so push your heels out and straighten both legs. And just hold that there. Let's bend the knees and straighten the legs a couple of times. Knees going over the toes. Great, okay, let's straighten both legs. And then keeping your legs straight, if you can, take your hands and your upper body over to one leg. Hang on to that lower leg. Try and take your head towards that knee. Try and lengthen your body along that leg. And breathe. Most importantly, breathe. And then come into the middle, soften your knees to release the stretch. Straighten the legs, go to the other side. Hang on to your ankle, head towards the knee. And you're on the other side, holding it there. And breathe. With each out breath, try and deepen the stretch a little bit more. Relax into it. Good, let's take the feet slightly wider, but really turn them out now to the corners. You pretty much, hopefully, will be in the correct position to do this movement, which we do every week pretty much. Bending one leg, straightening the other as you swap from side to side. Keep those hips really low. Try and keep the feet flat on the floor. So what I mean by that is don't let the ankle roll in. Don't let the sole of your foot come off the floor. Most importantly, those knees are over the toes, and generally this needs to be a little bit wider than you might think is comfortable. As long as you're not going to slip, try and get those legs nice and wide. And then we're going to turn from one to all the way around to one side. Try and keep moving all the way through this section. So your feet hopefully will be in the correct position for this side lunge. Take the opposite hand to that front foot, make sure the knee is above the ankle, lift the other arm up to the ceiling, try and touch the ceiling. You'll be reaching and looking away from the camera, hopefully, and then we're just going to swap to the other side straight away. Get there however you like. Try not to go down onto your knees. As I said, your feet are already in the right position. Take the opposite hand to that front foot, making sure the knee is above your ankle, back leg is nice and straight. Lift up and rotate. Try and touch the ceiling with that top arm. Try and drop your hips down. One more time in each direction. Twiddle around. I'm interested in you moving constantly. Sweep the arm up to the ceiling and now maybe open out a little bit more this time. Beyond 180. And sweeping round again. Opposite hand. And lifting up. Try and touch the ceiling, open out those shoulders, and when you're ready, come back to the centre and come down onto all fours. Great job. Let's go onto all fours into some press-ups. You're going to use your cushion in quite an interesting way this time. You're going to have it underneath your torso. So we're going to do a couple of different types of press-ups, just in the sense of the position of the hands and the position of the knees, or the toes if you're feeling really strong. But let's start with hands nice and wide. So I'm almost as wide as my yoga mat. I'm going to turn my thumbs in and my fingertips in towards each other, which makes my elbows go out to the side. So we're going to do a nice wide-based press-up. You want your cushion underneath your chest. Knees underneath the hips, so perfect square box position. Hands nice and wide. My hands are pretty much as wide as my yoga mat. And then as you do your press up, I want you to think about taking your chest to make contact with the cushion. So elbows go out to the side. All you're actually doing is hinging from your hips. There has been no change in the back of the head alignment. Quite often when we do press ups, I see everyone leading with their head. The head drops down and then they bring it back up when they straighten the arms. I like this fact that you're concentrating on the making contact with the cushion, which for some reason keeps the back of the head and neck in line. Hopefully you're starting to feel some work through those arms, but this isn't particularly strenuous. It's just all about grooving good technique. So if that's feeling quite easy, let's challenge ourselves a little bit more. Take your knees back. So you can either take your knees back, drop your hips forwards, pick your feet up so that your body's now in a straight line. So the cushion is, I'm going to make contact with my tummy to the cushion, but essentially my whole body, from my knees to my shoulders, are lowering to the floor, and from my knees actually to the top of my head, lowering to the floor in that straight diagonal line. There's no change. You could be a little bit half and half, which means just take the knees back and keep your bottom sticking up a little bit, but actually you still hinge as one unit from your knees. Fingertips facing in. Notice how that different position always changes the position of the legs and the knees. That will change how difficult the press up is, how much more of your own body weight you're lifting. The moment that you start to get this sort of weird combination where the bottom is sticking out, the feet are up in the air, and your shoulders have come back from your hands, then please stop. Try and just work with really good technique. Okay, taking your toes together, open up your knees nice and wide, come onto your elbows, and just twiddle. Little bit of a roll from side to side with your hips. Do some sea anemones with your hands, circle your wrists. So the next press up is going to be very different in your upper body positioning, really different. We're going to take a much narrower press up. Hands are going to be closer together, fingertips facing forwards. And from here, or if you imagine I'm doing the press up, as I come in, my elbows, like inside of my arm, brush past my ribs. It's not all the way out here. The one we just did was out here. That was what happened to the elbows. Now this is here. Elbows brush past those ribs, really important. So hands at the corners of my cushion because it's quite narrow. This time squeeze your feet and knees together, but come back to the knees underneath the hips. This is the most important part of this positioning. Take your front of your shoulders, the tip of your shoulder, past your fingertips, and then go. Chest, actually I want the cushion a little bit further forwards. Chest to the cushion, tuck the elbows in, hinging from the hips, tucking those elbows in. No change to the back of the head and neck, no change to the shape in the spine. Much harder work on those triceps. Nice breath out as you straighten the arms. So if you feel like you're going to tip forwards and land on your face as you're doing this, then don't go so low, don't bend your arms so much, but do keep that weight forwards and do guide those elbows in towards your ribs. If you only go halfway, that's fine, until you can build up the strength. Then challenging it more if you want to, so taking those knees back. Again, even if you take the knees back, because your shoulders are so far forwards, it's quite easy to just add that little bit of extra weight. So you won't be in the sort of half and half position with this one. And I like to pick my feet up, cross my ankles over. Just helps me to stay in that stronger, straight straight line position. 3 more, if you can, of your chosen position. If this is too much with those knees back, come back to the knees underneath your hips. Try and do quality rather than quantity. And coming up and stretching back. Whew. And here's another figure of 8. If you can, kneeling, hands together, just relax those elbows down, drawing that figure of 8 with your hands clasped. So again, one direction, fairly easy. The other direction, whoa, yes. It's fascinating how the brain works, isn't it? Or doesn't work sometimes, but you can see the asymmetry we have in our bodies is yeah, we very easily build pathways on the same. So getting stuck in a bit of a rut, it's really good to allow the brain to try and work out the opposite direction. So we're working the brains as well as the bodies. Amazing. Okay, we are going to go for a seated forward bend, a forward bend and a roll down. So classical Pilates exercise. So sitting really nice and upright, right up on those sit bones. And we're going to start by reaching the cushion up above our head. And then from here, you could just pitch forwards and collapse forwards and try and bend forwards over your legs. But I don't want you to do that. I want you to try and really keep your pelvis still. Feet are flexed, legs are nice and straight. And as you round forwards, it's like you're bending, it's like your upper body from here upwards is some metal or so. It's fairly pliable, but you're having to just bend it over gradually. But here at the base is actually staying in exactly the same place, into this forward bend position. I feel like the energy is coming out through the top of my head, going out through the cushion. My arms are parallel to my legs, and I've created like a U shape or a magnet shape, you know, the cartoon magnet. My pelvis, I'm really sucking my tummy in, pelvis is still in neutral. And I feel like there's a big stretch all the way around the back line of my body. From here, I'm going to keep my legs straight, keep my arms out straight. It's as if someone's got hold of my waistband behind me, they're pulling me back down to the floor. And I'm going to gradually lower, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way down to the floor until my head is down. Then take the cushion up and over, bring the cushion up in front of my face, tuck my chin in and lengthen and round up. Hopefully in the same with the same amount of control as I went down. I'm going to show you a cheat in a minute if that isn't for you tonight. Shoulders over the hips and then unravel that spine to sit nice and tall. I'm just going to go forwards a little bit more. So from here, we're rounding forwards first of all. So this is your forward bend. Arms are by your ears, your biceps are by your ears. I'm stretching forwards, but thinking I'm trying to really round the back line of my body. Now reach back, waistband is leading. Keep those arms straight, keep them parallel to the floor. Keep lengthening the cushion away. See if you can go one vertebrae at a time. Once you're down there with your head, just tip the cushion onto its side. Here's the cheating version. If you're struggling to come up gradually, throw the arms until you get probably to about here and then control the rest of the movement up. But if you can, cushion in front of the face, cushion forwards and unravel. There's another little trick here which I can't show you because I haven't got anything, but you actually only need a small, like your top, a sweatshirt top or a very small thin pillow. You just put it underneath your lower back and it really helps. It's like a magic, it's like magic, especially if you're quite curved in your lower spine. So, sorry, we're reaching up. Let's do 2 more of these. Rounding forwards, bend over gently the top of your body as if it's resisting and then pulling back. Keeping the legs straight. Oh, unravel all the way down, arms up overhead. So the weight of your cushion here and keeping those arms straight and in front of you should help with this movement. Last one. This time let's not round all the way forwards. Let's just go, to start with, let's go for a hinge forwards. Ooh, and then see if you can get that cushion past your toes. Now have a proper relaxed forward bend, forward stretch. It's a yoga position. I can't remember the name of it. I just remember I still traumatised from the time when I was in a yoga class and the yoga teacher sat on my back at this point, and it felt very claustrophobic. Okay, so lifting the arms up and then rounding that back. One more, all the way down. Actually, I thought we were staying on the floor, but we're not. We're coming back up again. One last one. Tuck the chin in, round, two, come up and sit nice and tall. Wonderful. We are coming into a nice balanced rolling like a ball position, so a seated C curve. So feet and knees, in fact feet and knees may be fairly close together. From that seated upright position with your spine, tuck the pelvis under, really scoop the tummy. This makes me so hungry, this one, I don't know why. So pelvis is really tilted. You're going to be past your sit bones on your sacrum and then balance, come into a balance. So pointing your toes so your toes are touching the floor. If this doesn't suit you, I know one of my ladies is really uncomfortable in your lower back, your sacrum. If that is really uncomfortable, just completely skip this exercise because it won't be comfortable at any stage. We're basically balancing here the whole time. And then we're going to place, if you can, place the cushion on top of your shins. So still holding so in order to do that you need to lift the feet up a little bit. Still holding the backs of the legs, elbows are out to the side. And then if you can, so you might be okay just here, just practicing this balance, absolutely fine. If you can, take hold of the cushion. As you take the cushion up a little bit, you won't be able to take it very far, take your toes to the floor, cushion to the shins, toes to the floor, cushion up, and lift and meet in the middle. And there, you'll find there's a slight rocking forwards and backwards, but not too much. This is very grippy in your hip flexors. I'm sorry about that. We are going to stretch them out in a moment. So lifting up and meeting there. Last exercise here, if you can, holding that cushion there and just releasing the arms and circling. This is very hard. Circling both arms. Notice I haven't asked you to do a figure of 8. Change direction, 3 or 4 if you can. It's very tempting to move about, to poke the head forwards. Try and keep everything where it is. Woo. Keeping those abs in nice and tight. Oh, well done. And just have a little slump over your legs. Well done. We are coming onto your backs. Yeah, and let's open up those hips. So, cushion between your knees. Keeping hold of the backs of the knees, rounding that spine all the way down. It might be easier, it might not. Let's have the feet and knees together, so the feet completely together, and you're going to try and apply that pressure, squeezing the cushion between your knees for the whole of this exercise. We're going to take our pelvis up to the top in stages, so up into a full bridge. Try and keep those knees squeezing together all the way through, which makes it a little bit more challenging. So from your neutral spine position, just check back of the head is there, shoulder blades open, collarbone open, shoulders relaxed, nape of the neck curve in place, lower back curve in place, pelvic neutral. Squeeze those knees together. My legs are already shaking because this is the second time I've done this class today. So we're going to go in stages, 4 stages to get to the top. Just the pelvic tilt. Press your waistband into the mat and release back to neutral. Next stage, pelvic tilt, lower back, waistband in,
Lower ribs, now you've lifted the hips up, the buttocks up, switch those glutes on, fire them up, roll back through your lower back and back out to neutral. And again, lower back, lower ribs, middle ribs, and reverse. Lower ribs, lower back, roll out to neutral. Try and keep those knees squeezing together if you can. Last set, we're going to stay at the top. Lower back, lower ribs, middle ribs, all the way up to the top. So you're on the top of your shoulder blades, which is the flat part of the triangle, if you like. It's called the spine of your shoulder blades. Imagine you're resting on there. Check those ribs are engaged and down. Use your hands to check your ribs. Connected to your hips at the front. Your spare ribs at the front connected. No flaring of the ribs. Use your fingers again. Find your sit bones. Find that gluteal fold, that crease, that smile of your bottom. Poke it and then activate those muscles. Switch them on. Open up those hips even more. Trying to squeeze the cushion at the same time. This is very strong. Let's take those arms away. Let's take 10 little pulses, switching on and switching off at your gluteal fold. Trying to squeeze the cushion between your knees all the way through every single time. I'm not counting. I reckon another 3 or 4. 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Taking the arms up to the ceiling, palms facing the tops of your knees. Take your feet, your toes out a tiny bit, couple of inches apart, and then take your heels out a couple of inches apart. So the feet are parallel, but you've still got the cushion between your knees. We're going to take backstroke arms. One arm goes back, one arm goes down. You're switching over. Every time you switch the arms, squeeze your knees together, and then squeeze. And squeeze. 10 more. 10 and 9 and 8. Try and keep those hips up as far as you can. 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and reverse, rolling down. Take that nasty cushion away. Soles of the feet together, let your knees drop out to the side, just have a little bounce there. Woo, a little roll around with the head. Stretching up the thighs. You might feel comfortable to roll your legs from side to side. Good, okay, we're going to take some abdominal work. Using the cushion, think about the leg that's closest to the camera or the screen and the leg that's furthest away. Lift the leg that's closest to the screen up into a knee fold. Make sure the knee is directly above your hips, so you're creating a nice 90-degree angle. Take the cushion and push it against your thigh with the opposite hand to that leg. And then the other hand is just firm by your side. Head is staying on the floor. Push the cushion. Try and push your leg away as if your leg is trying to attack you. But equally, try and attack yourself with your knee. So you're drawing the knee in and you're pushing the thigh away through the cushion at the same time. And you should feel a good switching on of your crossways path, that crossways sling at the front of your body from your hip on the side the leg is lifted to the other shoulder. Try and keep your shoulders fairly level. Keep applying that pressure. Back of the head is nice and heavy. Think about the shape of your spine, and then we're just going to lift the other leg 5 times into a knee fold and lower it back down again. So we're keeping this sling switched on by pushing into the thigh, pulling the knee in opposition. 3, 2 more. Lifting the leg and lowering. Make sure the ribs aren't flaring. No pelvis rocking about from side to side. No change in your lower back. Now lift the leg up one more time, and now we're extending out 45 degrees and bringing the knee back in. Extend and bring it back in. So notice what's happening in your body. This is hard work. 5 of these if you can. I've no idea how many we've done. Maybe 1 more. Brilliant. Put that foot down, put the other foot down. Let's swap sides. So back leg is lifted into a knee fold. Cushion in the middle of your thigh, hand in the middle of the cushion. Push away, not just with your hand, don't just pay lip service to this, push it away. Try and pull the knee in at the same time. The moment that you switch on that activation, that crossways line across the front of your body, if you want to call it that, keep it there, keep the pressure there. And then we're lifting and lowering the other side. Now I didn't notice that this was difficult on this side earlier on today in class, but now that feels quite strong on this side. This side feels a little bit harder to do. 5, hold the 6th one up, keep pulling that knee in, pushing the thigh away with your hand and your arm, and then we're extending out to 45 degrees. Notice, it's a bit like when we were on balancing in the ball position, and we started to circle the arms, or even lifting the cushion up. Notice when that leg is lengthened, how that extra weight makes you think, oh, I need to hang on a little bit more in my abdominals here. That's the whole point of this. Extend, last one, bend in, lower down and relax a moment. Last abdominal exercise is the same sort of thing. You're going to bring the camera knee in, but you're going to bring it in really far this time. You're going to extend your other leg away along the floor. You're going to take the cushion on the inside of that knee, and you're going to take your opposite elbow, lift it up and push, again, push the cushion onto the inside of the knee. In fact, if I go this way, it might be a little bit easier to see. So we're there. So I've had to, in order to get my knee, bring your knee in as far as you can, using your muscles, lift up and rotate to make this contact. In fact, go a little bit side to side. So my knee's coming across, my elbow's trying to push the knee away. Take the other hand, take it to the back of the head, open up the elbow, but I'm not rolling. I haven't rolled to this side. My left shoulder blade is actually slightly cleared. And then we're going to lift the straight leg up towards the ceiling, flexing the foot, pointing the foot to lower. Between 5 and 10 of these. Keep that elbow pushing in, keep that knee drawing in. Try and keep that oblique twist going on. I think that was 4 for me. 5. See if you can manage all 10. You only live once. Probably never do this movement again. Ooh, 2 more, I think. I've lost count. And last one. Ooh. I'm going to stay here actually, I'm quite comfortable here. So other leg, draw the knee in, extend the leg had the knee in, extend that along the floor. Take the cushion to the inside of your knee, lift your other elbow up, your opposite elbow. Try and lift up and twist. I'm not doing anything with this hand, it just is quite close to my head because I've got this knee in quite far. Support the back of your head with your other hand. Try and keep the shoulder blade lifted, and here we go. So don't let that knee roll out to the side. Cross it in a little bit. Flex to lift, point to lower. Flex to lift, point to lower. Twist as much as you can in that upper body. Don't let that long lever of that leg change your upper body position. Flexing and pointing. Whoo. Lift up as high as you can. Keep that shoulder blade, both shoulder blades clear of the floor. Is anyone counting? I have no idea how many I've done. I'm going to do 3 more. 3, 2, and 1, and have a little relax. Good job. Rolling over onto your side. How are we doing for time? Oh my gosh. Okay. One more side lying exercise. I might go over a little bit with today's class. There's a couple of things that are really nice that I'd like to do. Yeah.
So lying on your side, you're going to actually have your cushion underneath your head for a change. And the reason you've got it underneath your head is because initially I want your shoulders to be stacked. So you're filling up this gap so that your head isn't hanging off your shoulders. So shoulders stacked, hips stacked, one on top of the other, legs at a right angle. So bring your knees forward so that it's like you're sitting in a chair. Knees are stacked one on top of the other, the feet are below the knees, absolute right angle here as seen from above. Extend your arms forwards. Now unusually, my regulars will know, and this is the reason we've got the cushion here to start with, hands should go together because your shoulders are stacked. The other thing to think about is lift that waist. Don't be relaxed down. If you notice how much my hip changes when this is me completely relaxed in the waist, this is me lifted. Now my hips are stacked, hold that there. And then we're lifting and lowering the top leg. I call this a mirror image. So this is a mirror image of the underneath leg. There's no rotation. So I'm not rotating the thigh. I'm just lifting and lowering it, fixing its position. So keep your hands on top, one hand on top of the other, or place that top hand on your hip, just checking that there's no change. You'll know whether you're rotating or not, partly with the hip moving, but the hip shouldn't be moving at all. But also when you lower the leg, your knee and your foot should land at the same time. Check also that waist. Can you get your hand underneath that? Even if you're touching the floor, make sure it's lifted. Make sure it's not collapsed. Good. If your neck is starting to get a little bit strained, and mine is on this side, it has been every time I've done this actually, just turn your face slightly towards the floor a little bit. That should help. Now, hopefully there's some nice work going on. Outside thigh and hip. Working the abducting muscles. Keep the foot nice and straight, so no curly feet. Don't let the foot just dangle. Keep it softly pointed. And when you do start to feel some work, go a little bit longer. Make the muscle fibres stretch and strain, challenge them. That's where the magic happens. That's how we get stronger. Great job. We're going to hold that leg up. You're going to keep it in exactly the same shape and you're going to sweep it back. In fact, put your hands on top of a hand so that you're keeping your shoulders nice and still, and then just bring it back into that 90-degree line. So my knee is level with my top hip, keeping the leg bent. I'm not changing it, I'm not straightening it out, I'm not bending at the knee at all. As I'm sweeping back, when I get to my furthest position, it's a lovely stretch along the front of this hip flexor. Maybe just check with that hand that your pelvis isn't tilting. So when you bring the knee forwards, don't allow yourself to collapse and don't allow yourself to overarch in that lower back when you stretch back. Tighten up your glutes, tighten up your buttock muscles to sweep the leg back. Couple more. Good job. Holding that thigh back. Now just lengthen the other arm forwards. Take it forward, sort of up by, it's not quite above my ear, that would be above my ear. I want to sort of take it to the opposite corner to my back foot. Yeah, and then if you can, so you should be getting a wonderful stretch all down that side, the front side of your body, if that makes sense. See if you can straighten out that back leg, keeping the thigh where it was. Yeah, it's quite strong. Brilliant. Staying on this same side. Now, take that underneath shoulder really far forwards. So we're going to do opening the door. And this is where I normally work when we're lying on our sides in this position. So now my shoulders are not stacked one on top of the other. When I try and take the top hand to the underneath arm, they're nowhere near each other, and that's where I want it to be. And we're going to open the door by lifting that arm up to the ceiling, brushing the ceiling, opening the door
taking the arm and the head to look behind you. So if you've got an oblong cushion here rather than a square cushion, be at the front of your oblong cushion, have your head really nice and heavy and just allow it to roll. 3 or 4 of these. Brush the ceiling. Breathing, so your hips might open up a little bit, your knees might come apart a little bit. Your arm, when it goes to the floor behind you, might not be anywhere near the floor. Mine isn't quite there, it's still hovering a little bit. That's absolutely fine. Now hold it there, looking back behind you. See if you can lift your head up and just turn it a tiny bit more. Breathe, relax that back arm, open up that shoulder. And then from there, keep the arms where they are. Just turn your head to look at the screen again. We're going to straighten that top leg. You're going to flex the foot. You're going to sweep it forwards a little bit, keeping it straight. Put that front elbow in the floor and put your hand underneath that leg so that you're supporting underneath that leg. So you're not having to hold the leg in space. You're creating a little shelf for it with your hand and your elbow being in the floor. Then if you can, keeping the legs straight, bring the foot a tiny bit more towards your head, turn and look away again. Those shoulders might open out a tiny bit more, and that underneath thigh, sweep it back. Sweep the foot back. So this is called the big stretch. My regulars will be familiar with it, and oh boy, does it deliver. So if you really flex the foot, you'll get a stretch in your calf, the back of your knee, your hamstrings, your outside thigh and hip on that leg, the straight leg. Your whole spine is like twisted in opposite directions. It's making a cinnamon twist. I think that's a thing. Your shoulder is opened up, your head, your neck, getting a nice stretch. Make sure you're breathing, relax, enjoy. Maybe just circle that foot around. Wiggle about a little bit within it. And bend the knee, roll over onto your side. Sit yourself up, all on the other side, hurrah. I'm definitely going to go over today. Sorry about that, but let's just do this. I think that big stretch is a nice way to finish anyway. So lying on your side, at the front of your cushion, but get it up underneath your head, so you're supporting your head, shoulders stacked, and the test for that is your hands will be one on top of the other. Hips stacked, knees forwards as if you're sitting in a chair, feet below your knees, so at 90 degrees. Allow that waist to collapse and then lift up. Waist collapsed, and then lift up. Can't speak now, so we're here. Great, and then we're lifting and lowering that top leg. Keeping the foot softly pointed. Foot and knee landing at the same time. No gap. Sorry, keep the gap. Really losing it now. Keep the gap between your waist and the mat. Check the hips haven't moved. If the neck is getting a little bit tight, doesn't hurt me at all on this side, it's only on the other side. Just turn your face to look towards the floor a little bit. Make sure you're not holding any tension in the neck as well. You might subconsciously be holding your head up. Hopefully you're starting to feel some work. Hopefully the same place as the other side, but maybe not. Maybe this side is weaker. Maybe you've got an injury on this side or something that's niggling, that's your brain its attention is drawn elsewhere. Ideally, you're working the same muscle groups, and think about working to an equivalent level of fatigue. So when you would really quite like to stop, and if I said stop, you would stop immediately, try and do a couple more. Great job. Let's hold that leg up, not too high. Now sweep it back, keeping the leg bent. Don't be tempted to move the foot so your knee stays fixed, really, like you're in a brace. Check with your spare hand that you're not tucking under in that pelvis when you bring the knee forwards. You're not overarching when you sweep the leg back. Try and use your buttock muscle. So this is the big buttock muscle, your gluteus maximus, in order to sweep the leg back. Keep it switching on. Almost squeeze the leg back. Take the toes to the wall behind you. 2 more, I reckon. Great job, holding that there. Just stretch that top arm away, keeping the shoulder down, but have a sense of stretching the arm towards, on the diagonal, slightly forwards, and then really take that thigh back, and then try and keep the thigh still. Straighten the leg out behind you, squeezing the buttocks on that one side. Really beautiful straight leg. Hand. Fantastic. Bring the legs there. Relax. Bring your head to the front of your cushion. Slip that shoulder out from underneath. So your shoulders are really angled now. See if you can touch your other hand. You shouldn't be anywhere near it. I'm only halfway down my forearm on this side. Head is nice and heavy on that cushion. Lifting the head up and opening out. Check your breathing. Keep the head heavy. Try not to lift it to follow your hand. But when we get to the stretch in a moment, you might just need to lift it up just to get a little bit more going on there. Notice how this side, holding this one, notice how this side feels compared to the other side. So I'm getting a really lovely strong stretch in the front of that shoulder, front of my chest, on that back arm. Oh, my arm is still dangling off the floor actually. I'm quite tight there today. Can feel that going into the lower back a little bit as well. Great, and then just bring your head forward so you can see what's going on. Straighten that top leg, flex the foot. Keep the leg really straight as you sweep it forwards. If it starts to bend, keep it back a little bit. Elbow in the floor of the camera arm. Hand underneath that leg somewhere, just so you're supporting it. You're not having to hold it with your muscles. Then start to ease the foot towards your head. Then turn your head back away from the camera and just breathe, relax, notice all those areas of stretch. So the calf, the back of the knee, the hamstrings, the outside thigh and hip. The whole spine is rotated, twisted in opposite directions. Shoulder, now my arm is on the floor, now my shoulder is on the floor. Breathe nice and deeply. Maybe circling that foot. So when you add a little bit of movement to the extremities of this, it just tweaks all those lovely connections in the nerve endings. And let's just to the side. Have a little rest there. Woo, well done. And well done, Jack, for being such a good boy. Thank you so much for joining me live at 5. I hope to see you again.